Hello everyone, I am Rohit Vats and I welcome you all on behalf of Z Digital, IDPL and Techlusive, the organizer of this event. And we have Dr. Jitendra Singh ji with us. A lot of ministry, he has been handling a lot of things, a lot of ministries. So without wasting too much time, let me come to the point. Dr. Saab, how do you see technologies shaping today's youth's future?
Yeah, at the outset, thank you for having me here, Rohit, and congratulations all the award winners. Now coming straight to your question, I think it's not only the youth who's going to be driven by technology, the entire growth across the world is in the years to come going to be technology driven. And at the same time, it's going to be also global in character, that we can't be growing in isolation. So it will be a very integrated technology-driven growth because the world has shrunk, has brought us together. And be also that it's not only the technology is evolving each day as it has been so even in the past, the pace at which it is evolving is also increased. So you go to bed visualizing something for the next morning, it would have happened in the midnight itself. And third, those of the areas which were, at least as far as India is concerned, because now India is assuming a frontline role in the Committee of Nations. So some of those areas where we were considered to be either not capable of, or maybe not having enough aptitude to perform, or maybe we didn't have that kind of priority, are also the ones where we are taking a lead. Whether it be the space sector, it be the artificial intelligence, the quantum technology. Even in quantum technology, we are just about one of the 6 or 7 nations in the world in that elite league. In space technology, we have in many ways then, taken over some of the other nations. We started out much earlier than us, like for example, the United States, the Soviet Union. I think the most striking example of that is that the Americans were the first to land a human being on the surface of the moon way back in 1969. But it was our Chandrayaan which went and picked up the possibility of the presence of water over there through the evidence of H2O molecules.
True that.
And even today, the Chandrayaan 3 happens to have landed in the virgin zone of southern pole, and all the inputs that is being gathered by it are being very eagerly awaited by the rest of the world. So now the responsibility of India as a part of the global growth is also going to increase. And that too is going to be technology driven. But luckily, I think what is heartening at this, which is also is different now, is that we have an enabling milieu being provided by at the level of the policy plan, at the level of political leadership, particularly after Prime Minister Modi took over, because he has a natural flair for science technology, and he has given us the liberty to experiment wherever we have a conviction. Like for example, space sector was working behind a veil of secrecy for almost 7 decades. There were just 10 people sitting inside. And the gates of Sriharikota were very tightly shut down always. Now, during each launching, you have about 10,000 spectators over there. You have 1,000 media persons even during the launching of the Chandrayaan or Aditya. And we have now also opened up to the private players, a huge investment happening even in this current financial year from April to December this year. We've had an investment of more than 1,000 crore. So, are such sectors which were either unexplored or inadequately explored are now becoming also a very important contributors to the economy of India and thereby the global economy as well.
You very rightly pointed out that technology is changing so fast that overnight things are changing. And probably the current government is one of the most tech savvy we have seen so far.
I think, just sorry to interrupt you, I think you rightly put it, and since we no longer live in the era of talking without evidence, we were, because I'm looking after multiple departments, as you said, in the pension department, which is hardly, discussed around, we were the first possibly in the government sector to have introduced face recognition technology to generate life certificates for the elderly citizens, because earlier on the elders were expected to go to a doctor and get a certificate. I thought it was quite inhuman. So we introduced biometry, but then since people started living long, the lifespans have increased. So after the age of 75, 80, even the fingerprints and the biometry may not be that reliable. So we got that artificial intelligence app there, elder citizen just has to look into the camera of the mobile. That gets verified with his Aadhaar card ID, and within about 50 seconds, the certificates get generated and is provided at the desk of the banker. So we are actually very tech savvy, and that's the reason when COVID happened, we were not taken by surprise. We had already gone digital, most of the working. In fact, even in the other departments I'm dealing with, the Department of Personnel and Training, we didn't have an interruption of work even for 1 day or 1 hour. In fact, our output increased because we had 50% people working from home, as you recall. So they were even working on the weekends, on the Sundays, the holidays, which they were otherwise don't do.
How do you manage with such a big country with so many people involving in even the smallest of technologies?
No, I think one of the important attributes of this technology, if it is used properly, is that it also helps you to improve your governance practices, to make governance more citizen-centric, citizen-focused, or also make it more self-centric for the citizen. Like you might have heard of a very ambitious program launched by this government called Pradhan Mantri Swamitva Yojana, which deals with the mapping of the farms, the lands, which was otherwise done by the revenue department. The revenue department had gained quite a lot of notoriety for, delaying things, and, people have to run after the patwari and the revenues.
Now, virtually now like Bihar and UP, they are facing, initially they faced a lot of problems in getting this done.
Yeah, but now see, that is using both the space technology as well as the drone. And you can do the mapping of your land, you can have your own assessment, even without seeking assistance from a government official. And there also, I think it's been possible. Not only this government has been very much inclined to use technology, we have also been very open to doing away with all those hindrances or obstructionist rules which were not that enabling. For example, space sector was not open to the private sector. Now
so when we talk
similarly, the drones. We had a drone policy. You could develop a drone only in the premises of a research institute like an IIT, etc. And what was happening was that people were developing drones clandestinely in these institutes.
True. So basically, technology for transparency.
Technology, transparency with ease of science, I would say, and whole of science. So that's what, because the optimum use of technology is possible only if you make its use more enabling. If you put restrictions which are unwarranted, then it doesn't work. Then it would retard your progress if you are actually looking forward to play a global role.
But do we have that much resource to fuel such a big plan?
Very nice question. Absolutely, that is what is happening. People would say, look here, what are you doing? Soviet Union has gone there. NASA, the famous premier space agency of America, they would compare our achievements with them and say, look here, where have they gone, where are we? But they didn't realize that more than 50-60% of the resource in the NASA is from the non-government sources. So no success story can depend wholly on government sources, whatever be the country, however powerful, however rich. And that is now being done away with. I think time is coming very fast, very soon, when we will not have any demarcation between the public and private sector.
But does that not increase the threats?
No, see, if we have to grow collectively from here on. And that kind of skepticism, mutual skepticism between the private and the public sector has to go away. The new National Research Foundation, which is going to be set up very shortly, which is called Anusandhan in India, is going to be rather a better version of what we have in the form of National Research Society in America. Over there also, more than 70% of the resource would be from non-government, both financially as well as knowledge-wise. And the governing body will consist of not only academia, research, or representatives of different streams of science, but even representatives from social sciences, from humanities, so as to also keep the cognizance of the Indian context. So it's going to be a very integrated approach hereafter. And for that, you have to do away. This government, I think, would be remembered later on for having done away with at least 2,000 rules. Most of the governments take pride in having introduced, and at the end of the day, when an officer superintendent, he says, "मेरे time में मैंने ये कानून लाया है." अभी ये सरकार ऐसी हुई कि इतने हटा दिए हमने, which includes all these obstructionist rules which have been done away with. Like for example, we had so many rules which had been framed and which had been forgotten. Within 3 months after this government came in 2014, I think it was precisely the month of September 2014, we did away with that dubious British legacy of getting the testimonials or documents tested by gazetted officer. I mean, this should have been done away soon after independence. This was a feudal practice. It was no longer required. If I can't trust the youth of this country, if I can't trust the citizens of this country, how am I going to do business with them?
True.
Do I ask my son to get a certificate attested by a gazetted officer before he shows me his mark sheet? So, I think that we have actually been very open to that. I'm glad that Prime Minister has been supportive about it.
It's very evident that you guys are betting on the youth of tomorrow. Plus, incidentally, today's event is also about AI and Web 3.0. So, as the Minister for Science and Technology, so what do you think is the future for that? Like, what is government's planning?
No, I think this is one of the best times happening for Indian youth. And I say this with a certain amount of conviction. See, in the last 10 years, in 2014, we had just about 350 startups. Now we had more than 1 lakh, about 1 lakh 40,000. We have unicorns. In space, we had just one startup about 4 years back. After this space sector was unlocked to private players, we have almost 190 private startups. And the first generation of them have also already turned into entrepreneurs. Biotechnology is an upcoming area which is very exclusive to India because we have a huge biotechnology resource which was not explored. We have a wide range of Himalayas which is exclusive to us, not available to any other country. We have a 7,500 long coastal line beginning from Odisha to Maharashtra, only country which has an ocean named us. So there's a whole lot of biodiversity, minerals, metals lying inside. So that has sought to be explored. We are getting now startups in that area. In biotech startups, we had just about 50 biotech startups in 2014. Today we have around 6,000. So
That's a huge number.
these new areas have opened up because we have thrown it open. And why I say, and there is an ecosystem now. Let's not also forget while discussing about science technology, about the new education policy. The National Education Policy, NEP 2020, which is related to the youth. Somebody asked me, why do you say you envy the youth of this generation? I said, because I was a prisoner of my aspiration. They have the aspiration and they have...
Nice quote, sir.
Yeah, and they have the... I was prisoner of my aspiration, but they have the aspiration and the outlets and so many that they don't have... They have difficulty in making a choice. And I tell you an example. For example, if your parents thought you have to be a doctor, you took bio subjects in class 12. Then somehow you didn't manage to get a admission in a medical school. So what do you do then? You do BSc or a graduation in biology or whatever.
Whatever second options are there.
Same subjects. You can't get away because subjects keep chasing you. Then after graduation, you try your luck in civil services. You get well and good. If you don't, then what do? You do MSc or post-MSc. If you don't, then what do? You do PhD. Then what do? You become scientist. I mean, it's just that you are being chased by your subjects which had been by default selected or chosen by you, by your parents or your elders, by your teacher. Here now the National New Education Policy, the NEP 2020, gives us the option to juggle our subjects. So I can change my subjects after class 12, or even if not, I'm just citing the example of not getting admission, but otherwise also the aptitudes also begun to realize, as one grows out of adolescence, you gradually begin to realize, no, I'm good at this, not at this. When you go to Bollywood, you always think you will become a hero because you think you look very good because your mother tells so, your loved ones tell you so. But then the camera tells you you're not meant for this. So you end up becoming a script writer. Some of them also end up becoming clapper boys. Others open a canteen outside a studio. So you realize what you are good at. That also happens as you grow. But then you don't have a chance because the education policy haunted you. Whatever subjects you had been... Now you can juggle. You are even combining. I was tremendously gratified the other day, just 2 days back. I met a teacher. She's a graduate of alumni of Queen Mary's College, Chennai, also teaching there. She said, I feel so fascinated. I'm a teacher of political science, and in my class, I have boys from electronics, from communications also coming, because they have combined those subjects. And now, economics and electronics and IT is going to be a new combination.
Yes.
Health economics is already a recognized subject in the London School of Economics. So I think now if we have to live up to the world parameters, we have to follow the world strategies. So that's why I say this is one of the best times happening for the youth of India. And Indian youth now have that kind of esteem. Before any of the youth, because I keep traveling, any of our youth reaches a European country or the foreign country, his reputation or her reputation is already preceded it. Okay, Hindustan se aaya. So they always have that image that he must be
are
hardworking,
maths.
good. Abhi mere time mein kya hota tha? Many of my generation people actually try to hide their identity. I remember one of my students went there and somebody asked him, "Where are you from?" He said, "I'm from Asia." I said, "What do you mean Asia? Why didn't you say India?" Because there was very little esteem about the Indian boys and girls. Now it's the other way around. Most of the startups abroad are
Most of them are run by Indians.
preferring Indian boys and girls. And I asked them the other day in Berlin, I asked them, tell me 1, 2, 3, because I am also a student of science. What are the good things that you find in the Indian boys and girls? So they enumerated a number of them. The last one was that they don't take a weekend off. so there's not much of exclusive attributes that we have.
Also because this entire summit is all about finding new ideas. So how do you see India going for new ideas in next 10 years?
No, I think what is our advantage is that we have not been able to, we have not yet explored our exclusive domains. Like even in startup, in the context, we got stuck with IT startups. But startup does not mean IT. Startup could be agri startup, it could be health startup.
It could be anything.
It could be a non-graduate, non-science graduate. You don't have to be a PhD or an IITian. So I have experimented through our department. We started Aroma Mission, which is known as the Purple Revolution. We have 3,000 startups, and I think about 60% of them may not be even graduates. They have the aptitude, they have the junoon. We provide them technology support, and very important is the market linkage. So allied right from the beginning, a synergy between academia, research, industry. So our domain in India is one agriculture sector, which we have huge aroma belt in the Himalaya. Other is our coastal startups. Secondly, we were never lacking in our cerebral acumen. We were always ahead of them. See now.
The theoretical part was always there.
Yes, absolutely. We had lack of resources, but we had too much of commitment and passion. If you see in the archives, the photographs of Vikram Sarabhai carrying some of his baggage on the carriage of the bicycle, a launcher, loaded on the bicycle.
Yes, it's a very popular photograph.
So, I mean, that kind of passion and dignity of labor. So our boys and girls are very good at that. So their cerebral acumen is much ahead of others. And they are also very hardworking. I think what was lacking was the enabling milieu, which had to be provided by an ecosystem which was not there. That ecosystem is gradually getting in place. B, the resources, because we had restricted ourselves to government. We thought everything is because we came with a feudal hangover.
Right.
After
Somebody
200,
else will do it for us.
after 200 years of the British colonial rule. So that stuck in mind, that sarkar hi sab kuch. So now you are your own sarkar. So that once that comes in, then we go, because most of the countries which have grown beyond governments. And that's now it's absolutely now going to be a very synergized growth.
So on that very positive note, I wanted this conversation to go on and on, and I'm sure everybody is liking it. But just for the sake of rest of the event, rest of the summit, so thank you so much, sir. But before leaving, one final word for Z Digital, Z Media, the organizer of this event.
No, I think all that I have to, all that I can say is only the word of praise. Not that because you got me here, but also because I think as I was emphasizing the importance of synergy, I think you are making a contribution to that extent. You are synergizing all of them, bringing them together, putting all these, bringing all these brains and heads under a single roof. So this comradeship and this fellowship also leads on to the birth of new ideas. So you are making a contribution in your own way in the cause of science and technology. So I must compliment you. Also, thank you for that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
And a round of applause for Dr. Singh and Mr. Vats, ladies and gentlemen, for that very engaging conversation.